Hello, my name is Stephen Gordon. I'm an account manager here at GoEngineer, and I'm joined by my Swiss Army knife of engineers, Jeff Lenderman. He's our resident plastics specialist as well. We want to talk a little bit about SOLIDWORKS Plastics, what that is, and who it may benefit. But Jeff, SOLIDWORKS Plastics, what
Hey,
what what
Steve.
is this? Why did we create such a, or why did Dassault Systems create such a tool?
Right. If you think about using SolidWorks and doing part design, the injection molded plastic part is they're really highly used, right? So I'm designing a plastic part. Um, Having the tool within SolidWorks where I can look at my part design and look at wall thicknesses, how my part's going to fill, find injection locations, those type of things integrated into SolidWorks while I'm doing my part design, and instantly see this effect or result on my part design. Why
Okay.
not have it? It's inside of plastics. I mean, it's inside of SolidWorks. It's the best way to be able to use the tool.
Okay. So there's different levels of plastics, right? And it's common
Right.
that we will talk about the different levels as different use cases or different user levels. Um, the very basic is going to be your everyday SOLIDWORKS plastic injection mold designer, a consumer product designer, a medical device enclosure type of individual. And then moving up the scale, you do have like a mold design house, just doing the molds. And there's some specific tools just for those type of users. And then we get into the injection mold house. Those
Right.
three different levels. Um, those three different levels, can you break those down for us so we can understand a little bit more about the plastics standard, the plastics professional, and the plastics premium level?
Sure. Let me pull up the slide. Here we go.
Fantastic.
All right. So
The
SolidWorks Plastics
yeah, the
comes in three
designer level.
levels. Yeah. So designer level, plastic standard, right? Um, if you think about SolidWorks, they do standard, pro, and premium. That's packaged the plastics package as well. But plastic standard's the one that was developed for your part design. Um, Key things in it that you're going to look at is your filling. How is your part going to fill? Not necessarily will it fill. How does it fill? So you're looking at the flow pattern of the plastic through the cavity of the part. So if you have any holes that or core outs, those type of things, you can see how the flow of the material flows around that, and that identifies weld lines. Um, Looking at non-uniform wall thicknesses. One of the key things in that is looking at your cooling time. So your cooling time is the longest time in your cycle. If
Hmm?
you can lower your cooling time, you're saving money right there, right? So that's a key thing to be able to look at in plastic standard.
Those are all for the your everyday designer, and then we can
Right.
add on to that, like we get into the mold design house with the Plastics Pro. What is the biggest thing that you're seeing as an expert in this that mold designers are using? And maybe, hey, there may be a case for some of those plastic plastic part designers to use the
Right.
professional level.
Right.
But what are you primarily seeing in the professional that you like? I see the most return on investment for customers.
Yeah, so when we're working with Pro, like standard is just filling. Pro gives you the filling and the packing phase
Okay.
of the injection molding process, but this is where we start working with multiple cavities. So you have two cavities that get assembled together. They may not be the exact same part. It's a family tool. So
Hmm.
you have different volumes of plastic. You have to be able to balance your runners, right? You want them to fill with equal pressure and equal time. That's the tools and professional allow us to do that. My favorite one is the part mass versus time plot. If you've heard of what a short shot study is on the floor,
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
it's going to allow you to estimate what time your gate freezes off during the cycle. So when you inject plastic in, it starts cooling down. At some point, your gate, which is the smallest point of the plastic going into the part, will
Okay.
freeze off, right?
Okay.
Once that's frozen, you can't do anything else to the part. You can't add more material to it. You can't add more packing. So knowing what that time is great. Um, that's one of my favorite tools. in SolidWorks Plastics total.
Like the
Being
whole
able to
lineup.
do
Okay.
that, yeah, just doing that on the screen in a few minutes versus 2 or 3 hours out at the machine.
I could see a use case where, okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense for a mold design house, right? You need to make sure that that gate
Yeah,
is big enough or small, make sure it
exactly.
has the right design parameters. I also see like an individual designer, if they're trying to optimize that mold, I could see there being a place for them to have either plastics or professional, plastic standard or professional, but I see plastics being an absolute really good place to start. Going above then the mold designer tool at Pro, we have that plastic injection house using the plastics premium.
Right, right,
Why would you need to get into what I see here is the advanced cooling or the warpage? And why maybe
right.
just for those individuals?
So with premium, you get the filling and packing phase, and then after the part gets ejected from the mold, it cools down to this ambient temperature, right? So during that cooling, it's shrinking and warping. So having the warp analysis, you're actually seeing what the part will physically do once it comes out of the mold and cools down to a normal temperature. Um, they're packaged together because warpage is caused by non-uniform cooling. Remember about the cooling in plastic standard, you can find areas of non-uniform cooling in standard.
Hmm.
And you can be assured that those areas of non-uniform cooling, when you run them through premium on warpage, they're going to cause a problem. So being a part designer and being able to identify those with just the standard package is definitely going to help you on your part design because you know they're going to warp at some point. Um, the cooling analysis tool in premium, I would love to have if I was a mold designer because then I'm actually analyzing the cooling channel layout in my mold. It's that simple. Um, being able to identify hot spots in the mold during the cooling analysis is going to really, to me, be key for a mold design house too.
So there is a place for a mold designer to also need the premium, or
Exactly.
based on the
Yes.
capabilities, start with standard, then move to pro or premium. Like there's a case for all of that, in which we're happy to consult anybody on to make sure they're
Mhm.
help there. Another way to look at this seems like the plastic standard is, does this fill? Plastics professional is fill and pack, and then the plastics premium is like, what happens after I do all those things uh, post, right?
Right. Right.
So.
Yeah.
Um, Going back to plastic standard, the individual design house, what if they flip that analysis over to their injection mold house, like many do? Is there still a place to
Right.
have
Right.
plastic standard for them?
Definitely. If you think about the part designer and what I just said about going to and seeing the non-uniform cooling, those type of things, being able to submit a part that you've analyzed to a mold designer or the injection molding house, um, it's going to save you time. You've already got the part design down.
Hmm.
It's going to save the mold house time. It's going to save you time, and there's less back and forth, especially when you start working with overseas molders. Um,
Yeah.
I spent 30 years in the injection molding industry. The place I worked, we built our tools in-house for years and years and years, but then we had to start submitting overseas. I would rely on my mold design house a lot of times for an injection mold simulation. If I did that sending it overseas, it would take me a week, 2 weeks maybe to get results back from them. Um, but having it in-house allowed us to be able to, within 2 or 3 days, we already had everything we wanted. We started just designing the tooling and not work and sending them the tool drawings. And it's like, y'all build it this way. Um, so it's
that,
definitely a benefit to
that back and
not have to
forth.
not
Yeah.
to kick it back and forth, right?
Similar
It
to the
helps
idea
that way.
of why you have simulation.
Hmm.
So you don't have to do so many physical prototypes, or a FEA simulation. You don't have to do as many physical prototypes. Well, this you don't have to send it over to the injection house as many times. You send them one or two instead of 10, right? That speeds
Right,
up your
right.
your time to
Yeah.
design. I love that. I think there's a case then for plastic standard for honestly anybody who's doing any plastic injection designing. Um, Both Jeff and I would love to have any discussion with any of you about how this works and if which package is the right fit for you. So if we can be a benefit and if you've thought of any level of this would make any sense for you, just reach out and we'd be happy to help. But
Yeah.
if there's anything else, Jeff, I think we can let everyone go and just say thank you
Yeah.
for your time. Let us know how we can help with SOLIDWORKS Plastics. Have a great day.
Yeah. Great guys. Thanks.